guys for all coming to our crime and safety meetings. I know I missed the last couple of them due to being on vacation and other family obligations that have popped up unexpectedly. Today I'd like to introduce our guest speakers, Jeannie and Mark from Enough is Enough, to talk about the reckless driving.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeannie Lupo. This is Mark. We're going to present tonight about Enough is Enough. My first question is standing in front of there. That's not good. Have you had enough of reckless driving? Yeah. We have too. So we're going to talk tonight. Sorry. And yeah, but I don't know what I'm presenting at. There it is. Okay.
I guess because you're closer to the left. Sorry.
So running that thing is easier than fighting reckless driving.
Do you not have a magic coach? Let me see.
No.
She has the touch.
This one.
Oh, okay.
There it is. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is our mission. We're going to talk about how you can help either with our organization or within your community. You're going to hear some stories of people that have been impacted by reckless driving. And we're going to invite you to share any stories that you may have about reckless driving.
So Enough is Enough was the genesis of it occurred on November 12th of 2023. That was the funeral for my daughter, Erin Mogensen. Erin was killed by a serial felon who initially was fleeing police in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. She was hit directly at 75 miles an hour. She and my unborn grandchild were killed instantly. I remember distinctly at her funeral, Jeannie and her friends of Angie Mogensen, Erin's wonderful mother-in-law, said something has to be done. Enough is enough. And so from that tragedy comes this organization. It's a movement really to honor her memory, the memory of hers and Alex's really precious expected child, and all the other families and victims of these senseless tragedies.
So who we are, we originally formed just as a group of friends, but back in April of 2024, we organized as a not-for-profit 501c3. And we are nonpartisan. We feel that this is a problem for every and any political aspect, and we're just committed to creating safer streets. And what our main threat is accountability. We're looking for accountability for people that are committing these offenses. We're looking for accountability within the criminal justice system, and we'll tell in a little bit, in particular, the courts is where we focus our time.
So our mission is quite simply working to eliminate reckless driving that results in injury and loss of innocent life throughout the state of Wisconsin.
We have three focuses. We call them our pillars: judicial accountability, and then we look at legislative advocacy. That's working with our representatives in Madison on legislative activities, and then community education and awareness, which is this type of thing, National Night Out. We visit different neighborhood groups to just tell about our organization and tell about our work and see if people want to join us or at least spread the word about us. Our judicial accountability and mainly our Court Watch program, we've been in the news a few times talking about it. Has anybody heard about Court Watch? Raise your hand if you have. Our group of people have. And so what we're asking with Court Watch is we go and we select fleeing an officer and reckless driving cases, and we go and visit the courts during their plea sentence phase of their cases. And we keep track, we monitor the information of what the district attorney requests for a sentence, what the judge actually grants out. And then we gather all that information and we produce a report. At the end of June, we produced our second version of a report on what's happening in the courts and the judge leniency, if you will. If we do the next slide, I think we have some of that in there, right? And so our first report was from, first one was from June of 24, which is when we first started Court Watch, until November, so that 5-month period. And then our second round was December 1st of last year until April 30th. So in total, we've monitored over 500 cases, which sounds like a lot in a short amount of time. 174 of the cases in the most current period went to sentencing, which that number is important because it speaks to the huge inefficiency in our court system. One of the first things we recognized was that it takes a really long time for cases to come to a closure, and we feel that that's a disadvantage to victims, it's a disadvantage to the defendant even, a disadvantage to the community because it's just a churn and it takes a very long time. We would like to see some efficiencies in the courts. We haven't gotten much traction on that yet, but we'll keep working on that. 39% of our cases involve defendants that have previous felony convictions. And what else can I tell you? Judges are quite lenient compared to what the district attorney is asking for. And so in our most recent report, 65% of the time, the judges ruled more leniently than the district attorney. Did you have a question, sir?
Sorry,
Not at all.
do we have any idea where this judicial leniency comes from?
It's a good question. Beliefs, perhaps, and the slant, perhaps, that we want to give people second chances, but the people that we're seeing have had a second and a third and a fourth chance. And a lot of the defendants are very young, and so I want to believe that the judges are having some sympathy that I don't really want to send an 18-year-old to prison for 5 years. So it could be that, but it's a good question. Thank you. 49% of the cases resulted in probation, which is also lends itself to this leniency, and 70% defendants with prior convictions. I do have 2 copies of our report on that back table if you want to look through it, but it is available on our website. If you go to our website, ene4erin.org, up in the top right corner, that report is, the newest report is there. Yes, ma'am.
Can I say one thing? So I'm from Roger Wilson. Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Roger's our reporting king.
Just kind of building off what you said, so my name is Roger, I'm a volunteer with the Court Watch program. I, as Gene said, keep track of our data, put it in the database, and observe lots and lots of cases at the courthouse. But to your point, I think it's interesting, one thing that I learned, I've been involved about a year and a half, is that the 65% leniency of the judge specifically that Edie mentioned there, that's 65% of the time the judges are passing down sentences that are more lenient than what the district attorney asked for. But what I learned that is interesting is almost always what the district attorney is asking for is way less than what the legislature put in as the statutory maximums. So maybe a statutory maximum of 60 months or 5 years for fleeing of a certain type. The district attorney and the defense attorney get together and say, okay, we're going to throw out, we're going to dismiss two of these 8 charges that this person was brought in. We're going to keep this one fleeing charge, but we're going to, instead of 60 months or 5 years, we're going to negotiate it down to 3 years. And then the judges come back and say, okay, we're going to give them 2 years. So, yeah.
That's exactly right. It sends a message, the poor message, and it's not sending a message of deterrence that we would hope that it would send. Yes, sir.
Well, 49% resulted in losing that. What about the other 51%? What are they called? What's that?
That get incarceration time. 51% get some sort of incarceration. It could be, it kind of depends. We look at fleeing cases, but about a third of those cases are just fleeing the police. The rest of them have fleeing and reckless driving, another third, or actually not even that much, but about 2/3 of those fleeing cases have guns and drugs also, guns and drug charges. And so many times because of those additional charges, they will get some incarceration time. Did that answer your question, I hope? Okay. I'm done.
So on the legislative advocacy front, we've been working with local government agencies and state legislators, to enact laws to begin to address the epidemic of reckless driving. We helped pass Senate Bill 514, which increased to a felony level from H to G, mandatory minimum sentences for fleeing an officer. But when we say mandatory sentences, the mandatory sentence, if you flee an officer and you kill an individual, the mandatory sentence is 2 years. If you cause great bodily harm, it's 1 year. So while there are mandatory sentences, this was as tough a bill that we could get passed, or that we could get through the state legislature. Right now, we're focusing on several bills. AB 78, the towing and impoundment for reckless driving bill, that would allow police to have a car impounded and towed away if it is involved in a reckless driving incident. It's important to note that if that car has been reported stolen, it needs to be released to the owner of the vehicle without any fines. So if somebody steals a car and has reckless driving, the owner of that car is not responsible in any way to get that car back once it's impounded. AB 85, revocation. If someone is charged with a crime while on probation, extended supervision, or parole, and they commit another crime, this bill would require the Department of Correction to recommend that that person be sent back to jail. It's important in here to clear up one misconception that's been portrayed, that if somebody makes an innocent mistake, they're automatically going back to jail. The Department of Correction has to recommend it, but the judge would have the latitude not to institute it if it were a case where somebody innocently just messed up. This bill is near and dear to my heart because if this would have been enacted 2 years ago, my daughter would be alive today. My grandchild would be alive today because the person who killed her, while it was on extended supervision for another crime, and while he was on extended supervision, we counted in this Department of Correction records of at least 12 instances where he did not abide by the provisions, including 3 that were gun-related. Nothing was done about it. This is a piece of legislation that would address that gap in the judicial system. AB 75, transparency bill. This would require the Department of Justice to collect a broader set of data points, publish those so they're publicly accessible. The overall goal of this bill is to make the judicial system, especially judges, more accountable to the public. We count on them to keep us safe. They're not doing their job. this bill would give us the data and the tools we need to start addressing those gaps in the judicial system. And then in the future, we're looking at trying to craft legislation and find a legislative champion to push for legislation that would allow for moving of vehicles without plates or registration. The only safe way to get reckless drivers is to stop it before the vehicle actually starts. Once the vehicle's in motion, it's tough and it's not safe. And the best way to address it again is to get those vehicles off the road, to get those drivers off the road before the vehicle ever hits the streets.
We mentioned earlier outreach and education, which again is us going out and spreading the word of what we're doing, trying to create some change. We just work on informing the public about what we're doing. We are very new. I did want to thank the members of our group that are here tonight. Would you just raise your hands so we know? There's a number of us here. We are going to a National Night Out event tomorrow night where some of the other members are going to be there. But we have about, I'd say about 20 people who participate in court watching, go to court at least once a week. Some people 2 and 3 times a week to sit through our cases. And then we have another, say, maybe 10 people that are regular members. We have a number of people helping behind the scenes and things like that. So a number of people active in the group, and then we have a number of followers. But our outreach and education, what we're trying to do is just inform the public of what we're doing, inform the public of the results that we're finding, but also invite you to invite us to your group. We love to partner with groups instead of single. I mean, if you want to come and join us, we welcome you, but if we could partner with a group that wants to be involved with us, it's a ready-made collaboration. And so we'd love to come and present to your group or have you join us. Yes, ma'am.
Have you started getting to schools, high schools, middle schools about this yet?
We were just talking about that. So one of our members is, there are 2, Patty and Doug Jerving. You might remember Peter Jerving, police officer killed in the line of duty. And last year they joined our group, and Patty's very involved. She helps us write impact statements for our court cases. But I've been talking with her as well about starting to visit the schools, and thank you for that idea. I wondered about the connection of now the school resource officers are there and trying to get the message out to some of the kids before they get involved in some of this activity. And I wonder sometimes if young people know that a felony you get charged with a felony and that's staying on your record for life. There's certain restrictions that go with that. You can't own a gun, things like that. But I just wonder often if they know the consequences or that they understand that had they just stopped for the police, they might have gotten a traffic ticket, and if they flee, they're going to have a felony. So great idea, and thanks for the suggestion.
So like I said before, while this organization was established, the genesis of it was one tragedy. Unfortunately, there are so many countless others who it's impacted, and so many families that have been tragically impacted by this. So at this point, we would like to open it up, and if anybody has any stories on the impact that reckless driving has had on you, any instances you're aware of or anything you'd like to add to the conversation at this point. And I guess I'd like to start out with asking Marion if you could tell your story.
And as Marion's coming up, Marion is one of our members, and the one thing that we've learned over time is that, and we've tried to stress this, is victims within the criminal justice system are largely forgotten, diluted, pushed to the side, and we try to lift them up or let them tell their stories. We also, one of our Court Watch actions is to offer family support for people while they're in court, because we don't think anybody should be in court alone. But victims, we're trying to raise the level of acknowledgement, because sometimes even in a court, even the DA's office will say, oh, they just hit a car, it didn't hurt anybody. Well, if somebody hit my car, that's a big deal for somebody, and to just minimize that into, yeah, you got a little bit of a headache with insurance and getting a new car. It's not a small thing, and so a lot of times those things get minimized, so I'll turn it over to Marion to tell her story.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to tell my story. And it's just almost 3 years ago, I was on my way to church, and I was crossing the street, 18th and Locust in Milwaukee. And in an instant, I was hit by a vehicle turning the corner from 18th onto Locust heading east. In another instant, I was told that the driver did step out of the vehicle, and he said something about being sorry. Then he got back in the vehicle and drove off. And since then, almost 3 years ago, September 4th, 2022, it's remained an open case. So I hold out hope, but I don't think about it very much because maybe he'll be found, maybe he won't. So I asked, since then, what has happened? Well, in the immediate then, I was injured. My physical injuries included just one broken nose, one bone in my neck, skin abrasions on both sides of my body. My head got hit, and just a little bleeding in the brain. I was bruised in several spots, the worst being my left thigh, which is where the car hit me. I didn't lose consciousness, but I really don't remember what happened. So the next part is what I've been told. So I was tossed in the air, so I landed, and I didn't actually require surgery or ICU, and in 3 days I was home. So these physical injuries have healed. I have almost no remaining signs of the incident, a few spots. The fact that living and a functioning human being is an undisputed miracle, and if there ever was one. And I do believe in miracles, and I do thank God for that. Since then, as time marches on, my immediate emotional trauma has eased. So I returned to confident driving after some physical therapy and adaptive driving test. I'm less hyper-reactive when I witness speeding and reckless actions by other drivers, which is a daily deal, and I'm sure it's true of any of you when you go out. You're just going to see something or be in the middle of something. I find myself less often in a state of foreboding and fear about the future. Something like that increases anxiety. You just can't help it, even if you're a happy-go-lucky person. And I find as time has gone on, I'm less gripped by survivor's guilt, ruminating on this question: why did I survive and others did not? And as we've heard, Aaron did not. Since then, I find that the impact of that immediate emotional trauma is still part of my emotional condition. So what happened to me was not life-ending, but it was life-changing. In an instant, I joined the ranks of so many others caught in the crossfire of careless, senseless, selfish road violence. I have thought about this. It's just one way of looking at it. I think reckless driving is like a sniper. The sniper strikes at any time, on any day, in any place, choosing anyone to be the target. The sniper steals our daily sense of safety and security. And we know it's not right and it's not fair. And even if we say life is not fair, we still work to make life fair. Since that day, I have appreciated each new day at least 1,000 times more than I did before. Become more outspoken about my honest viewpoints. Nothing like getting hit by a car that makes you just not afraid to talk in front of people. I've done my best to drive attentively, safely, and legally, and that's where we all come in, and none of us can be on the lunch when we're behind the wheel. We have to always be attentive. And I joined this group, enough is enough, to join forces with a solid group of individuals working to capture that sniper and end the scourge of reckless driving. So while I try to avoid telling other people what to do, I am convinced that we all need to do our part to stop the courts from allowing reckless drivers another chance to offend, which is what we've already attended to. That needs to be done. We all need to do our part to change the laws, which allow reckless drivers to continue to injure and kill. We all need to do our part to be safe drivers ourselves and demonstrate safe practices to others, especially our youth. And I had a conversation with two organizers from Safe and Sound, and we were talking directly about that subject. So I'm hoping we can connect in the days ahead. We all need to do our part to raise awareness and inspire action. So I'm old enough to know who Margaret Mead was. I don't know if anybody here does, but she was a very renowned leader as a cultural anthropologist. And this quote came to mind. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. The problem of reckless driving demands change. So consider joining us, or as Judy said, some organization working on this problem. But consider joining us in the movement to find solutions. And together, I know we can do better.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Does anybody have a story that they want to share about reckless driving or about some solution for reckless driving? Thoughts? Or open to suggestions?
Drones. I'm sorry? Drones.
Drones.
Drones to chase down.
Drones, yes. That's another thing to look into, right? One of the other districts had a presentation on the drones. Do you know much about them?
No, I seen the presentation about drones just like everyone else, but instead of these officers fleeing after them, send these drones after them. You can't lose them, and it's a lot safer for everybody.
I wonder about the cost of that technology, but it would be worth the investment. Anyone else?
Can you repeat what you said? I couldn't hear it.
She was talking about employing drones to chase after the reckless drivers instead of the police endangering themselves.
Sorry.
That's a minute.
I know, I got enough. So while we attend our community block watch meetings with other neighborhoods, they're always asking us if we have any information regarding speed, like to see if you work with it, with some organization. I know some neighborhoods cannot afford them, some are looking for some donations, and it's like the city installs them and repairs it. Do you have any information about that?
About I didn't hear what it was, about speakers or?
The speed.
Oh, speed bumps.
We don't have information about that, like where they're gonna be installed and everything.
Or if you partner with somebody or someone.
Well, if the Vision Zero group, if you're familiar with Vision Zero, I believe that, so that's a project that the city has adopted, and I believe the county's adopted in a partner program with that to re-engineer the streets and put in the bump outs and all the traffic calming types of engineering. We're not directly involved with that. We've talked with that organization, but Vision Zero is the group that's pretty much, I think, doing all of
I'll
that.
share a little bit of experience on that unrelated, so you have it to mention.
Yeah.
Certainly not an expert, but we did that in our neighborhood recently over on Water Street, Humboldt. And the way that it worked, somebody asked you, is our older person basically was the person who wrote that. And there was I think the local business improvement district, in our case it's the Brady Street Business Improvement
Okay.
District. I think they chipped in with the cost. I know there was some postcards mailed to us residents about a possible assessment to us residents, everybody, but I never got an assessment. And we now have a whole new set of speed bumps on several streets in our neighborhood about 2 weeks ago. And so if anybody asks you, have them check with their alter person, and maybe they could use the same model that we did if we're altering District 3.
Thank you.
Oh, so we'll move back to the next.
I think we kind of went through most of this. We can advance to the next one. So, as Mary mentioned, we can't do this alone. There's various ways to be involved with our group, or we encourage people to just get involved in some way, even in your neighborhood. Talk to your local representative. tell them your thoughts or ask what they're doing to combat the problem. For us, if you want to join our Court Watch group, you can donate to us, you can follow us. We have a bunch of information on the back table, so if you want to take some with you. But our website is also there. I have little business cards to hand out. But if you go to our website, it talks about ways to donate, ways to be involved. We do have a petition for AB 85, which is the revocation bill, because that has passed both the House and the Assembly, or I'm sorry, the Senate. And so the governor is going to be getting that legislation to sign into law very soon. And the concern is that he will not sign it. I think that he has a history of being, I'm trying to be fair. He wants to release people from prisons, and I don't know that he will be in favor of this revocation bill. And so we're trying to urge him to sign the bill, similar to what we did 2 years ago with Senate Bill 514. So there's a petition on the back table, and if you sign that, we will be sending those petitions over. There's also, I think I have information about how you could contact him on your own. We have email language and letter language. And then the last really important thing is to vote, especially judges. They are elected officials. They most often run uncontested. And so they kind of have a free pass to keep doing the leniency that they're providing. And so voting is important, and voting for your leadership as well. The leadership in the community is, in my mind, totally capable of fixing this problem if they would come together comprehensively and find a solution. I personally feel there's a lot of finger pointing right now, or throwing up my hands, and a lot of, my husband calls it chin booty, going on. A lot of talk, but not very much action, and I'm not seeing an improvement. In fact, I feel like we're getting more and more cases of fleeing and reckless driving monthly. So I'm not seeing an improvement. I think the mayor is publishing statistics that show that level 1 crimes are reducing, but I don't know. I feel like in neighborhoods and things that we experience, we're not seeing that reduction. I'm not really seeing a change. So I think it's totally doable in their hands to fix this. So that's doing it, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, for coming and talking to us today. I appreciate it. I'll go through some of the crime stats today. Again, I'm Captain Jackson, Walker Police Department, District number 5. All right, our first one crime. So first one crime, as you mentioned, we're actually overall for the district has been down years to date from last year. But for the months of June and July, from June to July, it has started to creep up. In the summertime, we generally get higher numbers. This is not unusual for the district or for the city to see higher numbers in July versus June. It's warmer outside with a lot of kids who are running around, and people tend to be more accessible and not want to follow the rules. So like you see, it says for homicides, we're up 200%, and 3 homicides in the month of July. A lot of those were known person or known to the victim homicides, and just ongoing beefs that have been going on between some of the juvenile groups and adults. Sexual assaults have been up. The robberies have also increased, and people are outside more. Aggravated assaults have been up. Human trafficking has stayed the same. No reporting incidents of that. Our are also have increased in the district. The auto thefts have continued to increase and has increased by 13%. As more kids are out of school and as they watch TikTok and Reels and go on YouTube, some of them have learned how to easily steal cars even easier than what was before. Now they're still all type of cars. Arsons have decreased. And our total property crime is still up at 13%, and our one crime from month to month is up 15%. Our non-fatal shootings are down from the month of July, 18%, and our carjacking is at 1 plus from the month of June. But overall, still pretty good. We're still doing very well in the district. We're down outside by 5%. Sexual assaults have increased. They're being reported more, which is a good thing. We want people to report when they're involved in crime. Sometimes that leads to higher numbers. Sometimes it means local coming forward. But we're trying to do our best to make sure people do feel local coming forward, tell us, so we can get people who are involved in these type of criminal crimes into custody. Robberies are still low by 34%. Aggregate assaults are down by 12%. Trafficking down by 25%. And I total about crime for a year is down 15%. Burglaries are down by 5%, but they're starting to tick up with these crews coming around. Our thefts are down by 15%, but our thefts are just down by 6%, but they're still on pace to hit the same numbers as last year. So these kids are very smart. Right? We use the technology to their advantage, which leads to our roughly 5 problem. Arsons are down by 17%, total violent crime is down by 11%, and our total part 1 crime is down by 12% for the year. For the year, fatal shootings are down by 19%, and our carjackings are down by 58%. Unfortunately, fortunately, because I don't want anyone to be a victim of a carjacking, but it's still first having cars stolen. Obviously, they can realize you get more time, or more likely to go to jail for a robbery, which is a carjacking, versus this being able to steal a car using the keep-out program. You get less time for that. Judges tend not to want to go to the common so much. Unfortunately.
I have a question.
Yes.
For rate for the month of July, we have 8. Does that include the rate that took place at the Garden Homes Park towards the end of the month of July?
It would.
It would or would not?
It would. When this goes up to July 31st, for the day of sense.
And how can the public find out what's happening? That particular incident. Central assault information, besides maybe knowing if someone is taken into custody or not, we generally don't share a lot of details regarding those instances to protect the victim and their privacy. I don't believe anyone's in custody for that as of right now, but I can be back to you once there is. Yes.
So you may not be able to say anything about this, just a comment. When I see statistics like this regularly, like the mayor's office talk about this, as well as national news, crime statistics, I encourage you to ask your representatives or whoever you get these statistics from. But the comparisons are always, so this one is 2025 to 2024, everything's down. That's great, it's a one-year comparison. I think what most residents of cities and country are interested in is more like 2021, like pre-George Floyd, whenever that happened. I don't know specifically in Milwaukee, but I know nationwide, while we'll often be told, oh, crime is down this year from last year, like in Chicago, they're saying that. Still, for the average citizen, it's way worse than it was in 2021 or 2020 in most cases. I don't have nothing you can do about that in this slide, but I'd encourage people when you see these statistics to say, yeah, 2024, great. What about 2021 and 2020? And then see what the leaders do. They'll be like, oh, well, that's not fair, but that's what we care about.
So 2020 was COVID, nobody did anything.
I might have the year wrong. I don't remember when all the riots were in Minneapolis. Was it 21 or 20? I don't remember. But that's what we care about is before that. Thank you.
And that is a fair point. So from 2021 to now, our numbers are moving down. What you will be referring to is our down years would have been like 2019, 2018, 2017. We're still up from those years. Yes. Right. We're still up from 2017, 2018, 2019. And those years were at those points in time because I worked in the homicide division. That was my basis of my whole entire career with the Milwaukee Police Department. Is those are also years that were record highs at that time, besides the dollar year. But then all of a sudden we had a skyrocket. What I used to think was busy as having 100 homicides a year. Wow, I worked really hard this year. And then all of a sudden it jumped to like 212, and I realized what really hard it was. But we're now. I mean, it does take, when you reach such highs, it does take a long time to get those numbers back down. And the reason why, a lot of it is because attitudes change, right? Attitudes towards policing change. Attitudes towards how we deal with children change. Attitudes towards how we deal with people who commit crimes change. Attitudes towards who we incarcerate change. So with those changes, had a cause and effect. And one of the causes is we had an increase in crime. We have a lot of young men, I can tell you this, we have a lot of young men and young women who I see time and time again in my district committing the same crime over and over and over and over and over again because their attitude was, we should not be incarcerating this person. So now this person gets arrested. My officers do a good job. They put their lives on the line, they chase after them, they get on foot, they risk their falling down and injure themselves, do everything they can to get this person in custody, and then they get the release. And there's nothing that the Milwaukee Police Department can do. I can't force a judge to hold someone. I can't force the DA's office to ask for more time. And I can't force parents to better parents. I mean, we do try and issue citations. That was a big thing over the whole Water Street thing. Someone mentioned, how come we're not issuing out more tickets? Okay, what does a citation give someone? You give someone a fine, and you know, hey, that we're not going to incarcerate them for anything. We're not going to incarcerate them for stealing the car. We're not going to incarcerate them for not paying a fine. Let's be real about it, right? So what we need to do is have a conversation about how we're going to hold our community accountable. How we're going to hold our neighbors accountable for their children. And those are the things that we do need to have an honest conversation about.
Last time I saw a cop pass by. Now, they came a few weeks ago, they had an incident. They told me it started at 9 o'clock and then to another o'clock. And
I do appreciate that. And, yes, we made that area, Michael Buffalo and Burlock, one of our micro hotspots. It is something that where we do try to we do try to have squads monitor the micro hotspots as often as possible. In the summer months, obviously, the officers would take vacation. We have different, we have high enough staffing, but as you look at the stats here, we have shootings and homicides and other events. It does take away personnel. And I'll be honest with you, people ask me how come there's not a lot of police officers doing X, Y, and Z. Different events has a cause and effect on how we utilize our personnel. All right. Who can remember the young man who died in that of a squad car who could not breathe? Right? That was a very rare occurrence. Right? Back when I became a cop, when you were talking, you were breathing. He had a very rare condition. But because of that, incident, the public was outraged. Rightfully so. No one should ever die in our custody. But they also changed things now. So if someone gets involved in a chase and get a crash, I got to send 2 officers out of the people who were patrolling to the hospital. And they sit there for 4 or 5 hours. Right? If someone says they have asthma, I now have an obligation to send them to the hospital with officers to protect them. So I have excellent officers working on the street per day, and we don't know what's happening. I don't know who has to go to the hospital. I don't know who has to be supervised. So sometimes my game plan is to have patrols in that area. My game plan is to have more spots out there. My game plan is to have officers on bicycles patrolling things. So sometimes the people who we take into custody changes the game plan. And that happens quite often. And I do apologize about that. We are actively trying to recruit more officers, because that's one of the biggest things is you might see on social media. There's a little dispute right now between the police officers union and the city. But we are actively trying to recruit more police officers. I will say this current class, we have 50 officers, grade officers who are starting. And our next class, starting this fall, we will have another 50 officers who are starting that will help fill some of those gaps. Yes.
I'm not trying to say you guys not doing the job. That's not it. That's not the problem. To me, the problem is what if a 2-year-old know I'm still in the car? What would I do? But I know you're busy. I can call you, and you know the biggest thing that we on where I'm going on. I tell them they have to do this, go to their own that. So one guy, a couple of weeks ago, you would do that if your mother was sitting here, because my son was sitting on the porch, and I said, not fire that up, you did it anyway. And I said, go to your mom's house and do that. He has his whole consent. And I don't know if he's talking to his kids, but my children feel that I can hurt because there's going to be a problem. Who knows that he's going to run? I do.
And I
I've
appreciate
been
that.
into that safety sound thing. I've been into a whole lot of things. I definitely can now. So I still walk to the corner. I still tell people they need to stop that. They want traffic. They do it all. And it's only 1 minute.
And I do apologize, because I do understand your frustration. Your frustration is my frustration. I truly do. I'm truly here today because I truly do believe that we can do more as a police department. And I'm trying to find out creative ways on how to do more. Someone had brought up drones. I was one of the first people who tried to bring drones to the department, like 10 years ago. I'm glad to say that we finally are starting to get to that point where we are investing in technology. We do have drones. Within the next, hopefully, I won't be retired by that, not waiting that long. But hopefully within the next 2 years, 3 to 5 years, we're going to have a program called Drone as a First Responder. So that we will have the technology to be able to dispatch a drone from the district station, or like a fleeing car, or for the shooting, or a fight that's happening in the neighborhood. We can get eyes on it right away, so we can have better, we know which way someone's fleeing, which way someone's running, who's all involved in the incident, give the stop someone within the rules that we are bound by now, and so we can have greater impact on your community. Please move on to the next slide before I get some more questions. So this slide right here is just basically broken down by all of that districts. District 5 is named with 5 different element districts. The biggest one is automatic district number 6, which is Ms. Hogs. The other districts have a little smaller slice of the pie. I do work with all our aldermen. I mean my team and aldermen. We do try to be able to walks, be able to cleanups, try to get the other city departments to be just as involved in the community, because it's just not the police's job. Believe it or not, other entities in the department, entities in the city have the ability to give citations, do inspections, to do stuff like warrants, to get into places to help reduce crime in areas or reduce like the blight that's there. I do find if you have a clean neighborhood and people who are actively involved tend to make a safe neighborhood. But as you can look at the chart here, it's kind of broken down by the Part 1 crime and what district that we're.
What's the time frame of this?
So this would be year to date. Year to date. So the call service would be the first order, July 1st to the 31st.
What's a welfare, what's an example of a citizen welfare call?
So citizen welfare call would be where you see someone maybe laying on the grass who's like drunk or intoxicated, or it could be something that haven't talked to my neighbor in a couple of days, haven't seen them, maybe send a squad to go check on the door or a business. A couple of subjects are people who are involved in trouble in the neighborhood or in the store, subject with a weapon, which is one of the things that I would like to address, subjects with weapons. And me as someone who's a little bit outspoken, someone who can't retire, I bring these topics up all the time. When you guys tell me, I bring these topics up to the upper command staff, and I say these are things we have to work more on. And one of the biggest things that right now more about, you see the chief talking about it more, the mayor talking about it more, is the subject with the weapon calls. You know, you look at all these videos, or when you go to gas stations, you see these young kids with guns hanging out of their pocket, on their side, and more needs to be done with that. So if you do see something, you can call. And honestly, hey, there's some subjects here with guns and at the gas station, you look on their age, whatever, that'll alert us so we can send squads there and we can address those issues. Because we do have too many kids with guns. One of the main problems that we do have, and it's not just people who are sitting here mostly, but you see people coming out from the suburbs, and they're driving into the city of Milwaukee, they're parking downtown. One of my next slides, I'll show you, like car thefts or attempted car thefts. And due to the cold bottom, we're closer to the downtown area, and there are people who have guns in their car, and these kids are just trying every door handle they can, or they're getting into the car, and they're looking for guns. And we have a plethora of guns in the city of Milwaukee, these kids. I mean, these kids have guns. I don't know how, I mean, we have more guns than I do. We do search warrant on these houses. We're recovering 5, 6 guns that have been stolen out of cars, stolen out of these houses. People need to learn to lock their guns. Shot fire calls. We try to keep up with those. We hopefully are expanding our shot fire areas throughout the city. Fights, batteries, that's normal. I'm not anti-fight battery. I'm more I'm the kind of guy who believes I'd rather see that number increase and shooting decrease, to be honest with you. Motor vehicle accidents, that goes hand in hand with our reckless driving. Even my own spouse was a victim of a reckless driving this past week or so, actually. So it happens to everybody, driving in the city, you see it. Unfortunately, we have to do better with that. The traffic calming devices have had a great impact on it, but there's still a lot more that should be done. Threats, as self-explanatory, stolen vehicles. These are slapping you really good on recovering stolen vehicles. There's got to find ways to prevent cars from being stolen. The first slide, this slide right here is about violent crime in the area, the red dots homicide, the Blue dot per circle, it's double not fatal shootings, blue dot, not fatal shootings. No dots of firearm-related incidents, and black dots are average aggregate results.
Where's the doctor raised?
I don't have that on this slide for sexual assaults. There usually don't list those on these slides right here because a lot of sexual assaults happen inside of a home because usually there's no person. So that will then release the victim's address or information or our crime here, this kind of crime is pretty much spread out, but we usually see some in the garden homes area, firearm-related incidents, we have 3 in that area. We have 1 homicide in that area.
That's
Not fatal shootings.
That's fatal shooting.
Yeah, those are guys. Those are more of them that happens quite often. Sometimes those are people who shot themselves. It happens quite often. People don't have to use holsters for some strange reason. You can put a gun in your waistband and play around with it and walk, but you find out the hard way. You'd be surprised how many times someone is shot right in front of that by some unknown person. Let's see. Maybe related homicides. One is always one of the hardest things to prevent. Here's our West, our farm-related counts 59, Uri was 36, and our West 36 arrests. Those are locations where these operations are occurring. 53 were residents, 44 street, parking lot, rear end business, and all of them abandoned building. Robbery carjackings. There was up and down, which is good. The armed robberies amounted to 13, strong arms were 8. Firearm related was 13, 62% of those. Only on the street, of course, business was 6, residents were 3, parking lots 1, and bus stop 1. There we go. Auto thefts. This slide I was talking about, the light blue dots are the clear auto thefts, the red dots are the attempted auto thefts. The area, obviously, and the Brewersfield, Brewersfield area, Taylor Park, Hillside area, we have a lot of concentration. It's close to get to downtown. Downtown has a high concentration of auto thefts and robberies, as you've been seeing on the news. Some of those robberies end up being shootings and making news, and everyone comes along. But they're happening throughout the entire city, obviously, too. Car thefts is the name of our business. We are, a lot of it is hard to prevent with this new GPOP programming. I can just open up the door, put your machine into the machine, we're off Amazon for $400, and you can reprogram, you can program a key and drive off the car. Yeah, the technology is still a car using something you can buy on Amazon. You can still 99% of cars. Yeah, and it happens in the suburbs too, believe it or not. Yes. Yes, unfortunately, that technology is about 10 years old. No one does that one anymore. Now you just go into the car, plug up your machine, put your key fob, your new key fob in there, you can change the access code, and now your key fobs work, the owner's key fobs no longer work for their car. Yeah. Unfortunately, new technology makes it hard for us to prevent cars being sold. Yeah. Unfortunately, there is no law. There is no law against only a key program. in the state of Wisconsin. That's something that we need to work on.
There should be a license for that, like only locksmiths and car dealers or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't have that.
Now, initially, I'll be honest, only locksmiths had it. Criminals knew it. They would call for a locksmith, Rob Locksmith of his technology. And then they realized now you can buy it on Amazon, so lots of robberies have went down. So we're fighting with that, we're doing our best, but those are the things you can do. One thing you can do to help prevent it is there's a old OEM lock box you can put on your car that someone would have to pry off. And hopefully, by trying to pry it off, they damage it, and they can't get their key fob program in there. Of course, you still have to have it more fixed, so it's still stuff, but you still have to have your car is still driving.
Is it the OBCD thing?
Yes.
That's what, so they got the box that goes in there?
Yeah, it's a lot. Now, as you can see, cars, a year ago, we had Kia Lloyds, and there were still Kias and Hyundais, those were easier targeted cars to get. They still will go after Kia, but usually now they work with the high-end Kias. Hondas are very popular now. Chrysler products are very popular. Nissans, not on this list this month, but they're also very popular cars still. Infinities are super popular. That's why you always see them on the wall and reckless driving. It's very popular still. There's not a lot of Infinities in the city, so I don't really get these numbers, but if they do see one, they will use it still. Another big car that we would like to still are obviously the Hellcats and Dodge and the Chrysler products. That's why you see the Chrysler products under 9. Those are very popular still, very easy to steal. Let's see. Well, that's what we're just real quick before we take some questions. We have our National Night Out this Monday at Kern Park off Palm Boulevard. There. We hope to see you guys all there. It's going to be a great event. Officer Nelson Romo is here to have some great plans and a lot of fun things for the community needs to be involved in. We'll be there. And also this weekend, or this Friday and this Saturday, we have the sleepover event for education. Being hosted by Tracy Bent, a community organizer. It's on King Drive in North Avenue. If you are so inclined, please stop by and support them with a donation of school supplies. We don't have any questions. I'll take some of those now. Yes.
Relative to the guns, 2 questions. What happens when you catch somebody with a gun? What happens to the gun? And then where are the kids getting their guns?
Okay. When we check the results of the guns, and we have, I've been hoping to change the culture a little bit at the district regarding aggressiveness and going after the people with guns and catching guns. So we've had an increase on gun recoveries. So we do get a gun, it gets placed in the inventory as an evidence. After the case is adjudicated through the system, the guns get destroyed at Wisconsin crime lab. Our kids are getting guns, usually from cars, but also by straw provision. And a lot of times they're parents. We had a recent incident on North 16th Street. I don't say that cross street there, but looking at the data, the ShotSpotter data, I noticed that there was a shooting 2 blocks away. We're looking at the ShotSpotter data. There was this one house that walking down this block has a lot of shots fired. Go back and do some more checking, some more history. It looks like, obviously someone over there is firing off a gun. This one kid happens to become the victim of a shooting. Realizing that where he shot at, of course, where's he shot? In his thigh, right in front, he shoots himself. Little ingenuity from the police officers who talk to him, gets him to admit that he shot himself, and the gun belongs to his aunt. We take the guns, when we first get them into our possession, we run them through a system called items, and we're able to collect casings from other shootings and compare it to that firearm. Sure enough, he was firing off that gun on that block multiple times through that thing. Now, what do we do about that? Obviously, the things that we can't control, right? I can't control the courts. I can't control the DA's office, especially children's court. But I can place pressure with our city partners on the property owner. Now, sometimes maybe it's not fair to the landlord, and I have this conversation multiple times with landlords. I know you can't control everything what your tenants do, but unfortunately, I can't let you make a profit scot-free and let everyone else suffer. So what we do is a nuisance property for that one property. So basically, anytime afterwards, we have this meeting, we write a letter, we get it approved by the city attorney's office and the chief. Anytime we get sent to a call and related to the house, the owner of that building or their property, their house is now getting billed for how many police officers show up, sergeants show up, detectives show up, and we're finding that is a more effective way of dealing with little small problems, because that's something that we can't control. Yes, sir.
May I ask how many properties we have currently on an active nuisance property list?
Do you know? How many?
We have roughly over 150 plus that are nuisance, that's including residential, business,
So I find those are the more effective ways. As a city, we're working on owning cars, as I mentioned before, more often, we're driving, because that's something that, I can't, it's a pain to get your car out of the toll lot, because you have to have insurance, it has to be registered, so most people don't have this stuff done, so it has to be done before you get the car, but you have to pay the fines. So that usually is a stinger for like parents who let their kids drive the cars that are driving recklessly in the street. It's a way to force parents to be parents, and now all of a sudden, it's costing you money, and people don't have to pay money. Any other questions? Yes, Joe.
Who's responsible for boarding up homes and boarding up apartment buildings? Is it the police department or the Department of Neighborhood Services?
The Department of Neighborhood Services will board them up. If there's something, you can call the police, the non-emergency number, or you can also call the 286 City.
Correct,
Yeah.
286 City, for boredom training assistance regarding your lights. The city of Milwaukee has a very good app on your phone, the Milwaukee Action
Yeah.
app,
That's what we actually.
and that is amazing. So, but if you're bored for anything, or a city street light, it'll be 414-286 City.
And just add to that, if it is owned by somebody, then the owner is responsible for the building. If the city takes it in foreclosure, then the owner's not.
Yes.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Before I was talking about contacting your community leaders, your police have been working without a contract for almost 3 years, and I would encourage everyone here to contact the mayor, who is in total control of resolving that, and so I would suggest that you do that right away.
Thank you. Any other questions anyone has, or concerns anyone has for us? Yes. Usually an officer will send you like a link to our evidence.com, so you can upload it through there, and then they'll allow the investigating officer to be able to look at it or forward that information on to the detective bureau. So if you call for the police, one of them will send you all links. I think each link is separate for depending on the case, right? As always, we do want people to be, I understand that it's hard sometimes to call the police or want to get a complaint. If you have issues with someone in your neighborhood or someone or a house or block and your house is in viewpoint of that, we do have cameras at the district that we can give out for that purpose. It would allow you to install the camera yourself, or I can find a community partner to put it on your house for you. They're like doorbell cameras, and I have one that's more like more dual type of camera. It works off the Wi-Fi, give you an SD card. The beautiful part about this is if you choose to, at any point in time, you can share, you can send the officers a link to the cameras that would have full access to the video on the cameras. Hopefully it stays outside of your house. And then if there's something incident, you can call and say, hey, I gave you guys access to my camera. There's at 2 o'clock in the morning, this is going on. Can you look into it, an officer, and then log in, look at it, and retrieve that video themselves, thus leaving you out of it so you don't have to be a complainant and out of court if you wanted to remain out of this. So, look at your ass. Yes, ma'am.
How do you sign up for it? Is it just for Big Fish or is it all, at all locations?
It's currently, it's my pilot program, so it's only a fifth district. Yes. But there are other community groups that also do offer the same thing. They offer like ring doorbells, they use a different type of camera. Because this one gives an opportunity to be anonymous by giving us access to it, and they can revoke that access at any point in time through the app. So that's why I overseas, but there's other community groups that have access to ring cameras. I know each alderman has access to cameras, so even in other districts, they can do it.
Alert data program.
Yes.
However, they need a minimum of 8 participants.
Yeah, mine is the one. I think you try to keep Robert at that, and I'll leave it. Any other questions for?
Once upon a time, parents, they used to be responsible for their children.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, what's going on now? Because, kids feel like cars and almost nothing. No one's talking about parents and they can give. And anybody can pick the kids up from jail, from the, police department. All they have to do is have a license.
Well, we do release kids to their active parents. There is a lot of times kids are group homes, they're constantly running away from group homes and on a challenge. A lot of times some parents, I'm not going to blame all parents. Right? Some parents do care. Some parents do have some kids that are challenged, and there is not the support system for them. I do get that, and I feel very bad for those parents. They do everything that they can, but the support system is no longer there, and I don't have a good answer for it. Because it used to be the courts would step in and they would help them out. But unfortunately, the courts don't do it anymore. I don't have a solution why they don't do it. But I have been, or opportunity I have to talk to one of the judges on the children's court. I do express my displeasure about that, and so we can do more for these kids.
And then another thing, they used to have, driver's day arrangement.
Yes.
What happened to that?
Money. Yeah, money, liability issues, money moves everything. Not the money, unfortunately.
years later, sometimes this could be part of the results that we're getting because of what those kids have been exposed to. So there's that trauma, that undealt trauma they haven't dealt with, that they can't talk to mom, they can't talk to dad, they don't know who to talk to, if they be a teacher, that they're able to talk to if they trust the teacher. Because I think that's also something that our young people are dealing with. It's a lack of trust with adults. So how do we take the opportunity to have a conversation without being judgmental, but understanding where they're coming from, but providing those solutions for what they need. It goes both ways, but it's all right.
Let's go both ways. There's a lot of focus when we do on arguing for kids. Honestly, my goal is to have them not commit crimes. The goal is not to have them steal cars or possess guns at an early age, shoot guns, because kids who start off in those crimes very early on in life, let's be honest, they're never going to be employed for a very long time. They're probably end up in prison, and that's not good for society as well, and not good for them. We do our kind of best to try to steer them into a better direction. One thing that I do try to do with my officers, I have these officers here who do a great job in community work, trying to take part in pop-ups and trying to encourage people to get jobs, training. It's move people around, and also have officers who then go through, do the drug courts, take people to jail, get the opportunity to work first, move on. If not, then I have to move you along because they can't have you terrorizing your kids. So as you will start seeing a little more aggressive approach from not only my district, but from other districts, we're trying to get these kids up early, get these kids early on at their first mistake, hopefully give them the help that they need so they don't continue down this path. Because it's unfair to them just to keep passing them along because this makes them unemployable adults later on. Well, I think that was spending our time. There's no more questions. Thank you.
That's the veterans Stars and Stripes honor flight, where they honor veterans when they trip to Washington D.C. to experience a full day and honor and healing. So if you know any veterans in the city, you can contact via email and QR code there. They get a free flight, free visit to Washington D.C. to honor veterans.
And it's our contact information for our officers. If you have any questions or need any help, they're willing to help you out.
Just a friendly reminder, we'll be having our crime and safety meeting here until the end of the year. It's the first Wednesday of each month, and it's from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Okay?
So it's going to be right here. You don't have to second guess or wonder. It's going to be right here in this weird room every first Wednesday of each month. Okay, right here. Right here.
Yes, right here. And then there's a
Right here in
parking,
this room.
there's a parking structure right on the side, so you turn right, there's a parking structure. If you can't find any parking on the street. And then, we apologize, we didn't know somebody was having an event and they blocked the street, but hopefully next time, that's where we'll be available to park.
That's Brownsville days. Throughout the week.